Okay, start.
Great.
Cool.
Hello, IoTeX community. My name is Larry. We have Jing Sun here, and Raullen Chai is hard at work on tech, but he'll be here for a short session soon. We're doing this live AMA today to share more about our Delegates program. So the way this is going to work, we're going to start by kind of summarizing the events of the past couple weeks. Raullen's going to come talk about future testnet release candidates and kind of the plan for mining on the testnet, and then mainnet rehearsal, and then mainnet. And then finally, we're going to answer your pre-filled questions. And if you're watching live, you can ask us questions in the YouTube chat. And we will answer those at the end of the session. So, Jing, do you want to start by, a little summary of what's been going on lately? Really busy?
Sure. Very exciting, very tiring, and the whole team, working day and night, no kidding.
Yeah.
So my name is Jing, co-founder of IoTeX. Finally, this is a very exciting month and very important milestone ahead for IoTeX and the entire IoTeX, network and community. So Larry will, elaborate the details later. But I just want to say, there are several very important, days ahead of us. So we just already, launch our member portal. Maybe some of you already looking at our member portal and start to look at the profiles of our delegate candidates. Actually, we got over 100 applications. Really, we are really impressed by all those profiles. And so far, we get around 40 applications already fully submitted. Maybe we will have more. We are still working on that. But just like you already can start to read through all those profiles. They are from different countries and different profiles. Very impressive. And also just like starting from next week, really all those communities, everyone, you will be able to be on our platform and start to self-stake or stake your tokens. And then during the within 1 week, March 11, this will be our official voting launching day. So mark your calendar for that.
Awesome. Yeah, so just those 2 dates, March 4th is the self-staking date to start, and March 11th is when you will start to be able to vote, and that's when votes will start to count. So just to give you an idea of what we've been up to this past week, we've been launching a lot of announcements, so maybe there's some that you may have missed, but just to recap, we launched a blog on the grand design of IoTeX, kind of explaining, staking and voting is going to be run on Ethereum until our beacon chain, our gravity chain is launched in Q3 or so. And we have a blog on that. So if you want the details, please check that out. As Jing mentioned, we launched our Delegates website. Over 40 people, over 40 delegates are up there for you to browse. And we encourage everyone to, we have a little forum section on the bottom of every voting profile, a discussed thread. So you can start asking delegates questions. You should join their social media channels and definitely start engaging, figure out who they are, both professionally and personally, because these are going to be the people that help grow the IoTeX network. Exciting news is we actually announced the release of Open Testnet version 2.0. It has a lot of really exciting enhancements. A lot of security, reliability, and performance features. Too many to go over right now. Please do check out that blog. And also, if you're a developer, you can create a full node now, start exploring the blockchain and getting used to what this testnet can do. And Raullen's going to come explain future versions of the testnet. And just to go back to the member profile, we wanted to really just share some of the people that have applied so far. So, we have a lot of different groups, and you may have seen blogs that we've written recently around, different types of investors and funds, different developer groups, definitely our brand ambassadors, and different tech providers, and finally, different ecosystem partners that are bringing different capabilities to the network. So we've kind of announced these guys in these groups, and definitely do check out those blogs. Yeah. Anything to add here? I think, just on those groups in general, I think we're getting a really good mix of different types of delegates.
Yeah, so you will see, these delegates, they are not only maintain and validate, our nodes. They will be the builders. They will be the core builders of the community, and also of the entire ecosystem, right? So I think just we will, as IoTeX, foundation, actually we provide this kind of platform, and for everyone, they can have a role to contribute, and they also can have a role, which they can build up their own ecosystem or their own, the app, their own followers, on top of us.
Yeah. It's really exciting to see all the different kind of community plans that all these folks have. So, just to walk down the list, we have like HashBuy is a decentralized marketplace that's going to be running on IoTeX. IoTeX Lab from, I'm just going down a randomized list on our member website. It's member.iotex.io. IoTeX Lab is run by Simone, one of our great brand ambassadors. Crypto Lions is actually a developer group that got their start really reputable in EOS and now is joining us, and they're really fond of the technology. Eon is a staking organization. Infinity Stones is one of our technical partners. Slow Mist is a very talented, almost kind of a hacker group from China, and they're going to be building a lot of cool
and
stuff.
Also they help us audit our smart contract. They're very reputable, have over 10 years experience in the security, all those things.
Right.
Yeah.
Game Fantasy is a game developer group. Kobo Wallet is a great cloud wallet. They also have
hardware.
A vault and hardware as well. IoTeX Core is a group from our Russian community, our brand ambassadors Sergey and Dobrodel. IoT Explorer is another one of our brand ambassadors, Jason, or you may know him as Kits. He's going to be building a great Explorer for us. Royal Land, they are a investor group.
Yeah, so they are, based in both Silicon Valley and also, in Asia, and really invest in frontier tech like IoT, AI companies. Also just investing in those, blockchain companies.
Yeah. Do you want to take a few of these here? Yeah, Wales Capital?
Yeah, Wales Capital, actually, they are also investor group, one of our earliest, investors. And also they have the deep root in those, deposit project, for example, like Lisk and ARC, and really have the experience in running the node.
CoinGecko is one we're really excited about. If you don't know about them, they are kind of the what we think a better version of CoinMarketCap. So definitely check out their website. But they do a lot of APIs and market data. So we're going to bring that to IoTeX.
So what impressed us is actually just like they mentioned that at peak they have over 100 million, monthly active views, and have 10 millions of the community members who are really the active users. So they are really dedicated to just like introduce IoTeX into their community. Very excited.
Yeah, just one example of our delegates kind of merging communities, whether they're block producers in other networks or just have a kind of a big stronghold in the crypto industry. Airfoil is one of our technical partners, and they're kind of taking the enterprise security and infrastructure approach to block production. IoTeX Geeks is a delegate out of South Africa, and he's going to be helping us build a IoTeX cryptocurrency wallet.
UB Validator, actually, they are also an investor group. The interesting part is they really have the deep root in the mining, in the mining industry. So they are some of the biggest, mining pools for, Bitcoin and Ethereum and other. Right now it's Green and Beam, right? So they also can provide us, when we moving forward, and then they can provide a lot of the resources in this area.
Yeah, I think a good time to just take a break there and talk about we've kind of described so many different profiles, and I think that's the vision that we've had for our delegate program, all along, and it's nice that we've been able to implement that vision, and having a good balance of developer groups that can really help create new functionality, open source tools that anyone in the network can build on, investors connecting us to enterprises, all these different types of groups, technical partners to make sure that we have all the tech support for our delegates that we need. I think definitely our brand ambassadors that have been with us since day one and know the project better than us sometimes. So I mean, we just keep on going down the list. You know, we have National University of Singapore, an organization called Capital Mu. That's one of our research affiliates turned delegates.
Yeah, this is interesting. You know, NUS is one of the most famous university in Singapore, and then we are lucky to get a group of professors, researchers. They have been engaged with us, from very early stage. So we're working on the real real technical problems, and we want those researchers to working on that. So we kind of collaborated as a co-lab, and also just as they have some talented people who are also expert in the economics and also in their financial sectors. So we kind of work together with them for a while. So they are very passionate about our vision as well.
Definitely. Yeah. The next one, Blockboost.
Yeah, Blockboost is interesting. They are based in actually they're based in Silicon Valley. So they are kind of a blockchain media company, media and conference. They already hosted several really reputable blockchain conference and bring up all those influential people from the industry to discuss on all those topics. And recently they just launched the academic panels, and all those professors in cryptography come together and discussing the problems. So I think they also can bring a lot of the value to the ecosystem.
Definitely. And the next one is IoTeX. It's a company out of Brazil, actually a group of professors from the University of Fortaleza. So a lot of research and academics, thinking about how to communicate this to their students, and also very talented at building technology. Keys IoTeX is led by Barak. He's a systems computer scientist with a lot of experience building tools. So one of our developer groups. Block VC.
Yeah, Block VC is also one very premium investor group. So one of our early investor, and they are not only for short term, but definitely long term. They have kind of come out with their index, and we just they put all those most kind of high potential projects for the investors to look at, and definitely a long term holder.
Yeah, and then we have IoTeX Team.
Yeah.
IoTeX Team is a group out of Italy, and they're part of the staking team organization. So they have a lot of experience running successful block production organizations in many networks, and definitely going to be bringing that experience to help us do really great things. And then we have Super IoTeX. Super IoTeX is one of our developer groups led by Kai. And he's part of the list community, very well respected. So very glad to be having him on board. AlphaCoin.
Yeah, AlphaCoin is also one of our really long holder investor. Yeah.
Yeah, IoTeX Hub is also a legacy, I believe, Lisk developer led by Mac. So he has a lot of experience building these kind of open source tools. ZH Capital out of Australia.
Yeah, ZH Capital interesting. They've been in this industry for long, and also their unique value is based in Australia. They are one of the very few SEC registered investment in institutions in Australia, and also they have a large kind of community which is related to blockchain and other tech. So they will kind of just help us set up the hub in Australia.
Yeah. And we have Blue Fox IoT. It's a large IoT developer organization out of China, and they have a lot of experience with connections to IoT enterprises. So combination of connections and building tech and guiding our community.
Yeah, you can also consider them. They are kind of a community-driven media, and also those IoT expert group. So they have been discovering our project from very early stage. Really a huge fan, and also help us kind of write those articles about what this tech about, what the team about, all those media articles to help educate the community.
Yeah, OneNodes is another developer group candidate, and they also come from the list community, also part of Decent and other networks. So you're starting to see a lot of delegates really kind of expand and get interested in other networks, especially within the proof of stake,
yeah.
delegated proof of stake
Yeah.
family. I think that's really exciting. And
so for OneNodes, actually, just like the developer thinks, they have been, with us from very early stage. So right now they are helping us, to develop some of the tools, and some of the tools are very useful for delegates. For example, the payout tools.
Right.
Yeah. So they are really just like, experienced developers, and also, excited about the vision. So they just build up a lot of the things, which is very important.
Definitely. The next one is Longzhu, which means dragon pig in English, or in Chinese, sorry. And he's one of our brand ambassadors, really helpful. Been with us since the beginning, and very focused on the developer side and helping people. IoTeX mainnet is a team out of Russia, and they plan to help build technology, run a stable node, and definitely connect us to the Russian developer community and enterprises. Homotopic and Draper Dragon. So this is a really interesting one. Draper Dragon is definitely one of the most reputable crypto funds out there, and they're also our private sale investors. And their portfolio is Homotopic, which is very IoT specific,
blockchain
startup, right?
Yeah.
So having that dynamic is really interesting, kind of combining those two. Metanix is one of our technical partners. They are from the UK and are part of networks like IOST and others, and really active already in kind of pushing our release candidates and really active in the tech. So looking forward to having him on board. IOSG?
Yeah, IOSG is also investor group, one of our early investors, and they have been extremely supportive since day one. They help us connect a lot of the resources in the industry, because they previously are traditional venture capital and now really bullish in blockchain. So actually they invest in a lot of the very awesome project which focusing on the infrastructure layer of blockchain. So right now, so they will be even just like we get together and even just like for longer term innovation.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And we have a special guest. Come on in. We got Raullen.
Hi everyone.
Taking a break from hardcore development.
Enjoy the conversation.
Yeah, so he's going to give a little update on the tech side. We got about 5 more of these to go, so we'll just get through those. IoTeX Trader is led by Dijon. He's the admin of the IoTeX Trader channel, and also one of our brand ambassadors. So he's been super helpful in providing transparency to IoTeX community regarding trading. Comes from a financial background, so great to have him be a delegate. Consensus Networks is a company, Nathan and Connor, that are developer organization as well. Come from, I think Nathan comes from a Navy background, and also lectures at Notre Dame, so very diverse and helping us with a lot of great things there.
Yeah, they're in the US too, right?
Yeah, definitely. Cool. And then Pre-Angel.
Pre-Angel is also an investor group. Interesting, when you see their name, actually just like they support those very early stage, and they are one of the earliest investor in Neo. And then since then they really bullish on the blockchain, so they are also one of the earliest investor in us.
Definitely.
Yeah, very supportive.
And Derail Capital is a very unique company. So they're building a layer 0 networking layer that blockchain networks can run on top of. They basically solved a very difficult network packet routing puzzle that's decades old, and are using that and providing it to IoTeX network. So definitely check out their technology if you haven't already.
So a very interesting project that they're working on is try to integrate their a private network, SDN network, with our P2P layer. So they are actually kind of experimenting on that to see how much performance improvement they can have.
Yeah.
So let's see. Yeah.
Looking forward to the results. Yeah.
Right.
And the last one for now is Stanford CPC. It's the Cardinal Pitch Club, a group of Stanford affiliates that help startups get exposure, and definitely have been close with our project for a very long time. So happy to see them take the next step to be a delegate. And same thing, with all the delegates we just mentioned, they have some kind of affiliation with the project. Some have been with us for a very long time. Some of them are newer, but everyone has something unique to bring to the table, which is why we're super excited and really glad to getting them on board. The next step is for you, the community, to participate and research them, and definitely vote for them when voting starts on March 11th. But yeah, I think exactly. But now I think we'll give Raullen some time to explain some of the exciting things on the tech side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so tech side has been pretty well. Like everybody here is super busy. I was actually in the war room working with engineers on specific problems. So generally speaking, from now on, we will cut a release every Thursday. We call the release candidate 1, which has already went out on this Monday. And so also RC2, our release candidate 2 has went out of the door actually yesterday. Still running the production, which is not production testnet, went pretty well. RC3 will come out next Thursday, and RC4, so on and so forth. So basically, in each of this release cut, we will target on different things. For example, in the next release, RC3, right? So we want to make our like a client command line utility fully ready, gRPC API fully ready, SDK JavaScript SDK fully ready. And then in the RC4, we want to do like a rewarding protocol, make it like sure everybody can get a payment settled on our blockchain kind of stuff ready. And also like a productivity monitoring, which we don't have as of now. We will also add into RC4. See like this BP has missed one block in the one epoch. So his productivity is, I don't know, maybe 3 nines, 2 nines, something like that. Definitely. Yeah, so on and so forth. Like basically we internally, we have like a 3 pipeline for pushing this out. We have a dev pipeline. So we have basically set up the contract on Kova, and also we have an internal cluster and also front end to test how this votes, everything works. And then we have this like a testnet pipeline, which means like we have some testing contract on Ethereum mainnet. We have our member dash testnet, IoTeX.io for people to vote. That's a front end. And also we have like the blockchain, which is basically running by you guys and us together, right? And then we have like a production, which is mainnet, like the so this pipeline is still like internal, but we will make it open once the rehearsal starts. So that's basically everything's pretty organized here.
So when is the rehearsal start?
I don't know. I'm counting on you guys, right? So basically we will have to open the vote at least for a few days to get people on board, and then we can start the rehearsal.
Yeah. Right. So there's kind of 2 phases there. In release candidate 3, RC3 next week, we're possibly going to start mining on the testnet, and that's open to everyone. But the rehearsal that we're discussing is a mainnet rehearsal. So producing blocks on the mainnet before the formal launch. And we're going to be using the real-time votes to determine who's going to be mining those blocks. So that's why it's still a little up in the air. We have to get enough votes to make sure it's representative of what the mainnet will look like. But yeah, so that's another kind of factor about it's very important to stake and vote early to help us gather enough data, make sure that we can plan accordingly for the things ahead. But one thing that while we still have Raullen here, we just launched a blog called Grand Design of IoTeX, which basically outlines the work in Q2, Q3, and Q4 leading up to the big mainnet GA launch. Do you want to kind of explain what we can expect in the coming quarters?
Yeah, so as of now, basically we have this operation chain, or maybe we should call it the orchestra chain, which is a root chain of the IoTeX network ready, which will be launched to act as a governance layer as the IoTeX blockchain. So that's why we have all the voting, staking, everything on the Ethereum mainnet as of now, right? Yeah. In the next quarter, or maybe in the next 2 quarters, we will have our own governance blockchain, which could have some like a liveness-oriented consensus. So this will be like the new governance layer for this orchestra IoTeX root chain.
From what I understand, the integration between our blockchain or reading from Ethereum and kind of updating the delegates, that's kind of unprecedented, right? Yeah, can you explain kind of what that dynamic is?
Yeah, that's a very important feature we actually implemented. So basically, as a voter or maybe staker, you use ERC20 to work with a smart contract with development and also audited by third parties on the Ethereum mainnet, right? Then we will have like IoTeX blockchain, which has a Ethereum client to read the states of those contracts on the Ethereum mainnet to instruct like the operations on the IoTeX world. Basically, it says, so here is a top 12 one in the contract, right? So these are the basically BPs, which will do the block production work in our IoTeX network. So that's a very impressive work. I saw no one did this before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is also the separation of power.
Yeah, that's a separation of power. Basically, we don't want to put everything out in one network. For example, EOS, right? So here is a band design of EOS. So say if you are delegates, you got elected as a top 21st, then there's no incentive for this 21st folks to receive people's vote anymore. Like they can just turn down all the transactions.
Purposely miss transactions.
Exactly, right? And there's no way like you can elect them out.
Yeah.
So then it's basically dominated by all these players. Yeah. So that's a very, very strange design to us, right? So that's why we will have this like governance layer and also operation layer, and then we have a business logics as subchains, which will also come in Q2 and Q3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a great overview. So check out that blog, which has a lot more detail. It's called The Grand Design of IoTeX, Separation of Powers. It might have changed the title to Staking and Voting on Ethereum, but one combination of those three terms should do it for you.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I'm done, right?
Yeah. Back to work. But
back
any
to
final
work.
thoughts?
Yeah. Okay. Final thought is let's work hard at it, make it happen, and we need your support.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Cool. So we went over kind of the past 2 weeks of work in the Delegate program and just heard from Raullen the tech update. So now what we're going to do is go through some of the pre-asked questions that we got from you guys. We received, I think, 4 or 5 questions, so we'll just run through those. The first one is, let's say a delegate is promoting himself, saying he will distribute 80% of the block rewards to the voters. Are there any locking rules that assure that he will actually have to do that, or is it still optional to him at the end? Right. So this is kind of a question of how do we make sure that delegates follow through on their promises? And this doesn't kind of stop at just rewards distribution. It also involves their community plans. We want to make sure that people are campaigning and following through on what they're promising, right? And as an IoTeX, it's ultimately the job of all of us to make sure that the delegates are held accountable. I think from experience, I think in the discussion we do think that they will be, but from our perspective, we're just here to add transparency to the process. So any kind of changes to their profile, any changes to their voting structure or reward structure, we're going to make sure that they communicate that effectively to their voters. But just specifically on this question around whether they have to do it, we're going to be providing kind of tools like the payout scripts that they can use. And basically, the good thing about all of this is using all the rewards are paid on blockchain. So it's completely transparent who has done what and who hasn't done what. So there's no way to technically enforce the payment, but the beauty of blockchain kind of makes it all transparent. But yeah, what are your thoughts on kind of how delegates are campaigning and what they've promised versus what we expect them to deliver?
Sure, that's a good question. We will see, the beauty of the blockchain is it's decentralized, right? So as a foundation, we kind of just like, provide those, transparencies to the community so that they can make their decision and vote for them. And for the delegates, what we can do, we want to, set the rules or set certain, minimum requirement. For example, we have those, minimum self-stake requirement to add the security part, into our network, right? So, and from our foundation perspective, we will see, for the sustainable growth of the ecosystem, we want, all those delegates, they can cover their cost, hardware costs and labor costs, and they can just like provide a very professional and also responsive, service to maintain and validate the block. That's the number one thing. And we also want them to, have other, contributions, depends on their, kind of the capabilities and also capacities, right? So for those type of things, actually, they will have their own kind of community plan, right, to campaign to the community. And also, the reputation is very important. It's a long run. It's not just like, they, kind of one day and they get, all your kind of the support because of the provide a huge, high, kind of percentage of reward. It really depends on this. If their productivity rate is really low, and they will also not qualified to be to be a delegate, in our network.
Right.
And from our perspective, it's still up to so all the delegates to design their structure or the community reward plan. But we will just kind of suggest they will have a good combination, and also really provide a stable and quality delegate service to the network.
Right. I mean, if you think about IoTeX as kind of a digital democracy, right? How are government officials held accountable? Like in the U.S., we have a particular president that is, it's difficult, but the best thing that, I guess Congress or Supreme Court can do is have that checks and balances where, we provide different mechanisms to control that. But, ultimately, to answer the original question, it's not mandatory that they do, but it's going to be very clear when they don't. And the great thing is you can change your vote at any time. So it kind of keeps delegates on their toes as well.
Yeah. So it really depends on the community. They can help, us to monitor the performance of each of the, delegates, and also the behavior. If they have bad behavior, definitely they will lose, a lot of the votes from our community immediately, so that they will be voted out.
Yeah, so that's the first question. The second question is, as block produced change every epoch, how blocks vary during the time of the transition? Are new delegates actually elected and waiting in line before the start, or is the switch smoother to not stop the blockchain from running? It's definitely designed so that it's going to be completely continuous. So there's no stopping of block production. The way it works is that the rankings of the delegates are updated in real time throughout the day. Right now, one epoch is one day, so delegates are swapped every day. So every day, the top 36 are selected as consensus delegates, and 24 of those 36 are randomly selected to produce blocks one by one, while the others verify throughout the entire day. Every day, there's 8,640 blocks, meaning those 24 randomly selected will be doing 360 blocks each. And this is all completely continuous. So right when the epoch ends, rewards are paid to the delegates, and the new top 36 are swapped in. So
we're doing everything just systematically.
Yeah, so I mean, basically all nodes know themselves, or know they got elected for the next epoch at least a few hours before, so it gives them time to prepare. But great question, and I think this is a really important part of consensus around not only how you reach consensus, but the smoothness. So the user experience for delegates is definitely something we think about a lot.
But that's also the reason why we kind of enroll those delegates in phases, right? We consider for the phase 1 is still kind of unstable, right? So we allow the top 12 to get in first, and get the other 24 will be ready, and also we will provide a lot of the testnet rehearsal with them. Even they are not in this top 12, they already be engaged and know what to do, and get their tech or the hardware set up, so that it's like when the time is ready, and then they can roll in very, very fast, smoothly. Yeah.
So I mean, just for some clarification, I think these delegates, especially some of them are producing blocks on other networks. It's kind of like learning a new programming language. Like there's certain nuances of the software. The hardware may be the same, but the software, to configure it and optimize it, takes some rehearsal. So that's why we're doing mining on the testnet first, and then a rehearsal on the mainnet before the formal launch. This next one is around, it says IoTeX seems to have a magnificent fleet of delegates. I like the way you said that. Even during this bear market, what kind of delegates that are currently absent does the team think would be great additions to diversify the scope of the delegates? You want to start with this one?
Yeah. So actually, we're impressed. Really, we got really a lot of the applications. Some of them we didn't know them before, right? But we know they already been looking at our project for a long time. We will see. Right now we have quite good mixture of profiles. But what if we see we really want more? will be from the developer side. So we want more kind of developer community, especially those community they are working on the IoT related, privacy related applications come to us. I think we will provide a very, very innovative and solid platform for you to build the applications on top of us very soon. And we taking and our kind of approach a little bit different. It's not like, okay, so now immediately we launch the kind of the full kind of mainnet. So we launch the mainnet step by step, and so that we can engage with the community early. Even just like certain feature is not ready, but we will have very close communication with the developer group. So we will understand just like what's their feedback. We will kind of just like give them those alpha, beta, dev kit, all those things for them to play with first, and start to build up those interesting application, give us feedback, and so that when our GA is launching, we really can expect there are some amazing application already be ready on top of that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think IoTex's goal from day one has been to build this open source network of 2018 was really a year where the IoTeX core team did most of the development, in addition to definitely some core contributors from outside the core team. 2019 is going to be different in the sense that now that the infrastructure and the protocol is there, now it's time to add more open source tooling where things that are every developer can use, different SDKs, oracles, APIs, really all these things that will make it easy for people to build applications. And once we have those applications, having delegates that have large user bases, connections to enterprises, so it's kind of cyclical, right? Across developers, investors, community-focused nodes and brand ambassadors, and technical partners too. It's really a team effort across all those different profiles.
Yeah, and also actually just from our developer side, we are also coming up a list of those kind of tools, applications, features we want our community developers they can work on, and we also prepare a huge kind of bounty of development for our community developers. And so for those maybe they don't have enough kind of self-stake tokens to be a delegate, don't be too worried. Actually, you can start to work on our maybe tools or applications and earn the bounties, and so that you can be apply for our delegates later.
Definitely.
So we are open to everyone.
So it's really I think mainnet alpha is going to be a start of a very important transition for our project from kind of internal development to bringing. We already have 12 of the about 40 delegates so far are developer organizations. So we hope to see that number grow. And along with it, we will hope to see investors and ambassadors, community folks, all of those grow and kind of grow at the pace of our project too.
Another group will be those kind of from the business side. Just like those, for example, those they connected to enterprises or connected to a big kind of those platform which they also provide IoT related dev key to the community. All those organizations will come to join our delegate pool.
So we're looking forward to even more delegates in the future. And so this is the last pre-filled question. From a technical point of view, will there be an automated process of distribution of the rewards to the voters, or will block producers have to do it manually? So I think Raullen alluded to this earlier, but there's certain steps involved in this process, right? Just to add some clarity to this, the rewards will go from IoTeX protocol to the delegates, and then from delegates to the voters or whatever wallets that they've committed to. So that first step around protocol to delegates is fully automated. At the end of every epic, on time, rewards will be sent, and that's built into the protocol. The rewarding from delegates to voters and other kind of buckets is not enforced by the protocol. So it's not built on chain, right? These are things that will be managed by the delegates. What we will provide are different types of tools to help make this process easy. So, if you break down the process, it's basically calculating who voted for you and how many times they voted for you, calculating the resulting rewards based on, your defined percentage and rewards plan, and then finally distributing those rewards to all the various wallets. So part A, we will be providing a daily report of who voted and how many times and the subsequent rewards. And part C around distributing those rewards to various wallets. As Raullen mentioned, we are working on that along with some of our community contributors and delegates. So, ultimately trying to get this all ready when mainnet alpha launches, probably later at the end of this month, we're targeting, and trying to have that ready to make it easy on delegates and voters. So.
Yeah, so to make it, more just like, kind of intuitive, right? So from the foundation side, we definitely provide this, very clear information, spreadsheet to all the delegates every day. It's built in, right? And also just like some of the delegates are already working on the tools, those automatic, payout tools, and they are willing to, open source to the other delegates, but it really depends on themselves. So just like we will make sure, when the alpha is ready and they already have enough tools for you to do the payout, but you will just create it and come out with your own tool, which will make your payout, process even more smooth. And this is also your kind of, benefits to your community.
Right.
Yeah.
And just for voters' clarity, in other networks, we've done a lot of research into the way things generally work, and kind of decisions that block producers make. For example, in Tezos, rewards are paid every 3 days. One cycle in Tezos is 3 days. And other delegates in other networks will pay weekly. So, these are kind of things to expect. Having everyone kind of distribute rewards every single day is a lot of it's a lot of work to manage for the delegate side. So just to set expectations from the voters' perspective, be kind to your delegates. Ultimately a vote for them is kind of supporting them. So, building a good relationship with them. And if they are doing something that's wrong, I think it's very important to make that transparent to the community, but definitely give them some slack. I think they all have day jobs, very established organizations in some senses, and this is all kind of part of the community effort. So we should work together and not kind of clash.
Yeah, and we are also just like, very happy to know some of the delegates actually, they also allocate some of their rewards to be kind of a fund and to fund those developers, or, to as a budget to, host those, meetups, or do those education tools, all those things, right? That's really great. So we encourage all the voters really, read through their community plan, and to understand, what's their, contributions. And we also definitely, maybe bi-weekly or just like on a monthly basis, we will let our community know, their contributions during that, period or their plans, so that you can do your, make your decision. Some of them, maybe they cannot provide the maximum kind of the, reward back, but they really just like, for long term, they are making some, really amazing contributions to the network. And this is great, for the sustainable growth of the network.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think just to add a little bit to that piece, it's really important to vote not based on rewards, but based on ultimate value that they will bring to the network, right? And I know it's harder to do that in practice. It's very attractive to see 90% versus 85% versus 80%. But when you do the math, it really isn't that much difference. So you should think about that. You should be conscious of who you vote for, really dig into what they've done in the past, what they plan to do in the future, and vote based on the best outcome for the entire IoTeX network. But we'll try to make that process as transparent for you as possible, so you can make the right decisions and kind of elect folks that are not only kind of giving back to the community and voters, but also really high quality delegates. This last question is around any working projects, assuming kind of you mean partnerships and things like that. So, this is actually something very interesting. We're excited to talk about in Q2. We are working less on, we're working specifically one-on-one with several enterprises. For example, a very large device manufacturer in China working on a supply chain finance and supply chain track and trace platform. It goes 10 layers deep, so it's very complex, but ultimately something that IoTeX was really built for. Also working on a lot of privacy preserving things, topics, but one thing we really wanted to mention is a focus on products. Do you kind of want to chat about that?
Definitely, yeah. So I would say, apart from the blockchain side, 2019, we are committed to delivering and ship a lot of products. So that's our kind of our goal. So but a little bit different from maybe some of the other chains, for example, EOS and Tron, they are really working on the, kind of the game, all those, social media, all those things, like content, all those things. And for IoTeX, our focus is different, right? So our product, the product, which will be maybe related to hardware, related to privacy, we will have our very, very unique, kind of value propositions. And also, just like we will have a very unique kind of developer profiles, they can, bring those new kind of products to the blockchain industry. So that's something we are working on. Yeah, so stay tuned. I think Q2 or Q3, you will see a lot of progress on that.
Yeah, a lot of cool, not only DApps, but also hardware and a lot of physical products that will interact with the blockchain. So not much else we can share right now. We want to keep it kind of under wraps, but look out for a lot of exciting announcements soon. This next question is around kind of multiple nodes per delegate. So one node equals one delegate, or can one delegate run more than one node? It's definitely possible for one, call it a group, right? Group of people to operate multiple delegate nodes. But ultimately, it's difficult to get that amount of votes to, eventually have 2 delegates in the top 36 or top 12 or top however many will be mining throughout the different phases of the mainnet in 2019. This is not necessarily something that we really want to happen. We want, if a huge whale is taking up 10 slots, then it's not the best for our network. So we're going to make that transparent. And this goes back to really understanding who these people are that you're voting for, why you're voting for them, and whether they're really benefiting the network. Anything to add on that?
Yeah, so actually our design, which is one token, one vote, is already just like to kind of you can see our philosophy, which will be just like we want making the entire process as fair as possible, right? So if you want to stake more and vote more, and you definitely can be a really kind of influential delegate, right? But still, it really depends on your votes.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a follow-up question to that. One node in one epoch creates how many blocks minimum and maximum? Minimum is 0. If they miss every block, they can do that, but then they will not be producing blocks after that epoch. But the good thing is if they miss a block, someone is hot swapped in. So no effect on consensus. It's definitely built into the protocol. If you want to understand the technical side of that, you can read the Roll Post yellow paper, which I think is still on our website. But if they have successfully mined every block, there's 8,640 blocks in one epoch, and 24 out of 36 consensus delegates will be mining blocks every epoch. So that means those 24 delegates will be mining 360 blocks each per epoch. This next question is around supervisory board. I'm assuming that means IoTeX Foundation. Will they monitor the implementation of commitments and the distribution of awards from delegates to its members? So, this is something that we will want to provide transparency for, right? As far as the implementation of commitments, the wish list that Jing mentioned earlier around different developer tasks, our plan is to create a very transparent where delegates can claim tasks, and once they complete it, we want them to be peer reviewed by the community. And once it's peer reviewed, push it into production, and then kind of have a, what do you call it? Kind of a indicator that this delegate has completed this task. So making that very transparent about who has done what, and almost, it's going to be verified less by the supervisory board, but more by the community.
Yeah, I think the question means, the distribution of the rewards from the delegate, if we will monitor if they really implement the commitment. I think yes, we will. And also, actually that's like, it's not that, and all those, delegates, if they change, if they are kind of the community reward plan, so they need to, let us, prove that if they want to do that. And then we will definitely inform all those communities they have such a change of those, kind of reward commitment. And we will also, building out those kind of tools to help, monitor if they are, really distribute, or just implement, properly. But also very important, all those, supporter voters, you also have your rights. Either if you find there is anything wrong, you can kind of, contact, the foundations, and then, to report that kind of issues to us. And also, definitely, you have your votes. You can change anytime if you see, these delegates, not really deliver, their commitment.
The groups around the local storage requirement of 4 terabyte solid state drive, and we listened to you guys, and we actually defined those requirements kind of in a forward-looking way. But definitely for the first year at least, a 1 terabyte solid state drive storage is more than enough. So we've updated that in both the consensus kind of delegate handbook that we provided to delegates and on the previous blog post. So we heard your request, and thank you so much for bringing that up to us. This next question is around, in 2 to 4 years, many have said that data created annually by IoT will be measured in yottabytes. Yottabytes? I'm assuming that means a lot of data. Is the Delegates program robust and scalable enough to handle that volume? So you want to talk about kind of the future plans once we add more subchains and the delegate pools that will be kind of across those.
Yeah, so actually just like the unique design of our blockchain is auto-scalable. So right now we consider the first year all those transactions were mainly on the root chain. So 36 of the delegates will be enough. But in future, definitely when all those ecosystem grows, we have more and more subchains, and some of them they really have those significant kind of transactions, and we will add the delegate pool, which means the delegates itself, they can not only do the transaction and get those gas fees from the root chain, but also can from the subchain. And another thing is for the data, right? Actually, just like we definitely believe IoT will be booming very soon. In 2020 will be a remarkable year because the 5G will start to be in the production worldwide. But actually, just like we can consider, the blockchain itself is not a major. So the major function is not the storage. So it's more on the kind of the consensus, and also provide this trust layer. So for the entire IoT tech stack, this is one layer. So for the storage part, actually we have a lot of different ways. Unnecessary, all those data will be stored on the chain or on the blockchain, and this is also not effective and productive. Right. So don't need to worry too much about that. But all those critical things, for example, those ID informations and all those related to the transaction, related to the kind of the assets, the payment layers can be on the blockchain.
Right.
Yeah.
This next question is around, will the demo version be for the election of delegates? I'm wondering if that means
demo version,
the test nets. So just to give an idea of next steps from the voters' perspective. So as we mentioned, March 4th is the first day you can start self-staking your tokens. And we're going to be announcing a campaign where the earlier you stake, and if you stake until the mainnet, then you will be getting some great rewards.
Mm.
And if you also commit a stake duration of more than 1 month, or 1 month, you'll get even more rewards on that day one. We kind of use an APR model, but we'll have more specific announcements on that soon. But also on the same day, March 4th, we're going to be opening up voting for test tokens. So we're going to be using Kovan Ethereum test tokens, so you can use the web tool end to end and start using some test votes in preparation for March 11th, which is the date that actual voting with the real tokens will start.
Yeah.
I hope that answered your question.
But also, have you mentioned about, and start from the March 4th, all those community members, they can start to stake or self-stake, and we will start to give the reward.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so those part of reward actually is from the foundation side. So we want to encourage all those early voters, early kind of participants to join this program as early as possible, so that we will provide the reward to you until the mainnet launch. And starting from the mainnet launch, all those delegates, they will provide the reward to you.
Yeah. So just based on some voter calculators, we've seen around 20 to 25% ROI or APR as kind of the estimate. You can take a look at some of our delegates. They're producing really cool calculators that help you use certain different assumptions to estimate your rewards as a voter. I think sometimes this is taken out of context, right? Like sometimes charging, from a delegate's perspective, charging a service fee for staking the voters' tokens almost sounds like more, it's a little weird to say giving rewards to voters. It's more like delegates charging the service fee for them to stake on behalf of voters, right? So that's kind of the way that Tezos has it. They have a very specific service fee, but for some reason, when it's flipped around, it sounds a little different. So just wanted to clear that up. Yeah, the next question is around the roadmap. We have one currently for 2019. When can we see the updated plan for 2020?
That's very forwarding looking. Yeah.
That is very forward looking. And I think it is dependent on a lot of things that happened this year. So just to give you an idea of what's going to happen this year, right? Q2, we're going to be launching a privacy preserving subchain, which is going to allow you to send private transactions, run private smart contracts. It's a really big deal for us and something we've been working on almost behind the scenes a lot. But when it's ready and when it's ready to be shown, then we'll definitely show you that. Trusted IoT developer kits and various different types of hardware also coming in Q2. Q3 is going to be our gravity chain, which is Ethereum calls it their beacon chain. Is basically the mechanism that's used to kind of define governance for the entire system. And Q4 is going to be the time when we launch the full mainnet. So the orchestration layer, which is the root chain, the governance layer, which is the beacon chain, and multiple subchains, which are kind of the execution layers. So if you think of that as the next kind of milestone for us, like right now, we are able to provide developers with the opportunity to build on our root chain and eventually build on our privacy preserving subchain. I think 2020 is going to be really about adding more types of subchains. So subchains can be configured to specific use cases and things like that. So once we have really this full stack of layers, it's really going to start to bring subchains together. So no concrete roadmap available yet, but I imagine 2020 is really going to be about creating those subchains, using them to power dApps, and really focus on bringing users into the IoTeX community. This last question here says, I am a delegate and have already launched a node. 2 million have voted for me, but I did not get into the top 36 and did not become a consensus delegate. Can I turn off the node for this time? Yes, you can. If you're not in, so just to give you an idea of the different mainnet phases. So phase 1 is going to be kickoff right when the mainnet launches. There's going to be 12 elected delegates that are going to be running consensus, along with 24 robots. And the reason why we have these robot delegates is because we want to be able to make sure we use this thing called PBFT, Practical Byzantine Fault Tolerance, and it's basically 2/3 of the delegates have to agree on the state of the block for it to be published. Once 2/3 have it, then you can successfully publish that block. So we want to maintain at least 2/3 of that in the beginning while the blockchain is kind of fragile. So we're going to incrementally ramp up. Maybe every 1 or 2 weeks, we're going to add 1 delegate. So it's going to go 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, all the way until 36. Until that time, you know, delegates number 13 through 36, for example, will not technically be producing blocks on the mainnet. But one thing we do want them to do is be producing blocks on the testnet. So we're going to be keeping both the testnet and the mainnet open so that new delegates that come in, even, they can, you know, try it out on the testnet first, configure their node. It's pretty much a duplicate environment, but just without the real token. So short answer is you can. If you're not in the top 36, meaning you're not a consensus delegate, then you don't have a chance to mine blocks. So you can turn off your hardware in that meantime. But, you know, we encourage you not to give up. You know, I think in the beginning, voting will be not, I wouldn't say it's going to be representative of what will happen in the long term. I think voting in the beginning, there's a lot of delegates doing cool promotions and short-term marketing things. Rest assured, we are really confident and we'll do everything in our power to make sure that in the long term, the ones that are adding value will remain. So that was kind of a long answer from my end. Anything to add on that part?
No, yeah, just like I agree with, you know, what Larry said. You know, this is, as you know, this is a long-term project. We have a lot to do, you know, in the next 5 years at least, right? So, you know, we also want, you know, our delegates, you know, we can be a very long-term kind of relationship, but we also understand the ecosystem evolve very fast, so that, you know, gradually we will see, you know, maybe more delegates, more candidates will be on board, or from, you know, with different profile, which is good for the ecosystem, right? So, you know, eventually, you know, all those delegates will be those, you know, group of people, they really have the long-term passion with the vision. But not only that, they can also build up their own business on top of us, so that they will be kind of, you know, part of, you know, the ecosystem, and we kind of, you know, get together and grow together. Yeah, that's very important.
Absolutely. So that was the last question. You know, just to recap what we talked about today, you know, we introduced some key dates for voters, especially some things to keep in mind. March 4th is self-staking start date, and we're going to be running testnet voting or test token voting on March 4th. Also going to be doing kind of like a daily lucky draw, and also giving you rewards for creating test portfolios. So definitely, you know, trying to educate you on that process, and also get you know, get people excited for voting kickoff, which is on March 11th. So those are the 2 big dates for now. We're going to be coming out with some materials very soon. One of them is going to be step-by-step voters handbook and click-through video and step-by-step blog. So really teaching you all the different ways that you can vote in the IoTeX network. And we are also, you know, working closely with delegates over these next few days. I think just a few weeks, actually, you know, leading up to mainnet, making sure their nodes are set up, making sure they have everything they need. And yeah, you know, busy times for the IoTeX team, but everyone's super excited, and we hope you are too. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, so very excited. And, you know, remember, IoTeX is, you know, actually run by the community and for community. So this is an extremely important milestone ahead. So we need all of your support to, you know, vote for the delegates. So that's the most important thing. So make sure, just like if your, you know, network, your friends, you know, or your network, you know, make sure they also get aware of this event is coming, so that, you know, we will get enough kind of the votings to successfully initiate the mainnet alpha.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. So stay tuned to our official channels for more announcements, and we'll probably be doing more live stream in the coming weeks, definitely leading up to mainnet,
Yeah.
which is huge. And stay tuned, and thank you so much for your support. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.